大家好，欢迎来到大师英文。今天为您带来的故事是2009年获奖电影《型男飞行日志》，或称为《在云端》，由乔治·克鲁尼主演，带您一窥资遣专家的空中人生，探讨孤独与连结的真谛。现在，让我们开始吧。
Ryan Bingham lived a life mostly in the clouds. He spent over 300 days a year traveling. His home was not a house, but an airplane cabin. Ryan worked as a corporate downsizing expert. In simple terms, his job was to fire people. Companies hired him when they lacked the courage to do it. He would sit across from devastated employees. He always tried to deliver the bad news smoothly.
Anybody who ever built an empire sat where you are now.
He tried to frame their firing as a new opportunity. Ryan loved the sterile environment of airports. He enjoyed the predictable routine of security checks. He knew exactly which line moved the fastest. He avoided lines with families or slow travelers. His luggage was always a perfectly packed carry-on. He never checked his bags to save precious time. Ryan had two main goals in his unique life. One was avoiding any kind of personal commitment. He had no wife, no kids, and barely saw his sisters. The second goal was much more ambitious. He wanted to collect 10 million frequent flyer miles. It was a massive milestone that very few achieved. He dreamed of getting a special loyalty card. Besides firing people, he also gave public speeches. His popular motivational seminar had a catchy title. It was called "What is in Your Backpack?"
How much does your life weigh?
He would ask the audience to imagine an empty backpack. Then, he told them to put all their stuff inside it. Next, they had to add their friends and family. He argued that these connections slow us down. His philosophy was built on total detachment.
Make no mistake, we all cross the finish line alone.
One evening, at a hotel bar, he met a woman. Her name was Alex Gorin, and she traveled just like him. They instantly bonded over their loyalty cards. They compared rental car statuses and hotel points.
Yeah. We are two people who get turned on by elite status.
They started a casual relationship based on schedules. Whenever their flights crossed paths, they would meet. It was the perfect romance for someone like Ryan. No strings attached, no messy emotions. Just fun. However, his perfect world was about to be disrupted. He was called back to his company's headquarters in Omaha. His boss, Craig, had a major announcement to make. Craig introduced a young, ambitious woman named Natalie. Natalie had a brilliant idea to cut travel expenses. She proposed firing people remotely via webcam. This meant Ryan would no longer need to fly anywhere. He would sit in a cubicle all day and stare at a screen. Ryan was completely horrified by this new plan. He strongly protested, arguing it lacked human dignity.
We leave people with their dignity. A screen doesn't do that.
Natalie insisted that her method was more efficient. She thought Ryan was just acting like an old dinosaur. To settle the debate, Craig made a final decision.
Take her with you. Show her the ropes on the road.
Ryan was forced to take Natalie on his next business trip. Their styles clashed immediately at the airport. Natalie brought a huge, heavy suitcase. Ryan forced her to buy a proper carry-on bag. He taught her his strict rules for navigating security.
Never get behind people traveling with infants.
Despite his lessons, the real test was the job itself. Natalie sat beside Ryan during her first firing session. She watched as an angry man started yelling at Ryan. Ryan remained completely calm and professional. He absorbed the anger without letting it affect him. When it was Natalie's turn to fire someone, she froze. She followed her strict script, showing zero empathy. The woman she fired started crying uncontrollably. Natalie panicked and didn't know how to handle the tears. Ryan had to step in and smoothly diffuse the situation. He showed Natalie that experience matters more than theory. Later that night, things got even worse for Natalie. Her boyfriend broke up with her through a text message. She was completely crushed and crying in the hotel lobby. Ryan didn't know how to handle personal emotions. Luckily, his casual partner Alex was in the same city. Alex came over to help comfort the devastated girl. They sat together, drinking and talking about life. Natalie criticized Ryan's isolated lifestyle.
You have set up a life that makes it impossible to connect.
Ryan tried to defend his empty backpack philosophy. But deep down, her words started to bother him. He looked at Alex and felt a strange new emotion. Maybe he actually wanted someone in his life. A few days later, Ryan had to attend a family event. His younger sister was getting married in Wisconsin. He did something completely out of character for him. He invited Alex to be his +1 at the wedding.
Please, I want you to be my +1.
Surprisingly, Alex agreed to go with him. At the wedding, Ryan felt like an outsider. He barely knew his future brother-in-law, Jim. But having Alex there made the whole weekend better. They snuck into an empty school and took funny photos. For the first time, Ryan was truly having fun. However, disaster struck on the wedding day. Jim suddenly got cold feet and hid in a room. He refused to come out and get married.
Ryan's sister begged him to use his skills on Jim.
She needed Ryan to talk Jim into the commitment. This was extremely ironic for Ryan. His whole philosophy was about avoiding marriage. Ryan walked into the room to talk to the nervous groom.
What is the point? We are just going to die anyway.
Jim was terrified of losing his freedom. Ryan took a deep breath and abandoned his old speech.
Life is better with company. Everyone needs a co-pilot.
He convinced Jim that memories are meant to be shared. The wedding went forward beautifully. Ryan watched Alex dancing and realized something profound. He no longer wanted his backpack to be empty. After the wedding, they parted ways at the airport. Ryan flew to Las Vegas for a big motivational convention. He stood on stage, ready to give his famous speech. He looked out at a massive crowd of eager faces.
What is in your backpack? Picture it.
Suddenly, he stopped talking completely. He realized that his own words were meaningless lies. Without a word, he dropped the microphone and left. He ran out of the hotel and rushed to the airport. He decided to surprise Alex at her home in Chicago. It was the most spontaneous thing he had ever done. He stood nervously on her porch and rang the doorbell. The door opened, and his world shattered in an instant. Alex answered the door, looking completely shocked. Behind her, he heard the sounds of children playing. Then, a man's voice called out from inside the house. Alex was married. She had a whole secret family. Ryan stood there, completely stunned and heartbroken. She quietly told him to leave before her husband saw. He walked back out into the snowy Chicago streets alone. Later that night, his phone rang. It was Alex.
You are an escape. You're a break from our normal lives.
She never intended to leave her family for him. To her, Ryan was just a parenthesis in her real life. The illusion of a shared future completely vanished. Things were also falling apart back at the company. A tragedy happened involving someone Natalie had fired.
A woman who cried uncontrollably had jumped off a bridge.
Natalie was completely ruined by the tragic news. She quit her job via a text message to her boss. The remote firing program was immediately suspended. Ryan was put back on the road, flying constantly again.
During a routine flight, the pilot made an announcement.
Ryan had finally crossed the 10 million mile mark. The chief pilot came out personally to congratulate him. He handed Ryan the elusive silver card he had wanted. It was the moment he had dreamt of for years. But as he sat there holding the card, he felt nothing. The massive achievement felt completely hollow. He had reached his finish line, but he was all alone. A few days later, Ryan called the airline company. He decided to transfer a chunk of his miles. He gave enough miles for a round-the-world ticket. He sent them to his sister and her new husband. Meanwhile, he also wrote a glowing recommendation letter. It was for Natalie, helping her secure a great new job. Ryan stood alone in the grand hall of the airport. He stared up at the massive glowing departure board. Destinations flickered across the screen in rapid motion. He dropped his lightweight suitcase and simply looked up. The stars will come out, and he will be up in the air. Thanks for joining us on Master English. See you next time.
听故事学英文是英文进步最好的方式。大师英文，谢谢您的收看。